CCE's Executive Director Adrian Esposito and Long Island Program Coordinator Tara Bono took the ferry over Long Island Sound up to Connecticut to meet with members of the Connecticut Commercial Lobstermen Association and several elected leaders at the Lobster Pound in Guilford to address the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission's proposed 3-month lobster moratorium in the Long Island Sound. The lobstermen in the Long Island Sound are not the reason for the lobster die-off we've seen occurring in recent years. In fact, they've complied with every regulation imposed upon them to date. No more, they say, as newly proposed sanctions threaten to push the last remaining lobstermen out of work for good.
We're here today with Long Island Sound's greatest champions and those who fight for a long time to protect the water and protect the resources that Long Island Sound brings. What we're doing here today is that we understand Long Island Sound is a globally significant ecological system. It generates $8 billion to our regional economy, and it provides our maritime culture here in Connecticut and throughout the region. The problem is that once again our lobstermen are being faced with a ban from being able to lobster in the Long Island Sound. The problem is that over-lobstering is not the problem with diminishing species. The problem is increased water temperatures and diminished water quality. That's the problem. We cannot go after the lobstermen because they are not the root cause. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an infection. It only covers up the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. And meanwhile, the problem's getting worse.
The fact of the matter is that this is about jobs. This is about people's livelihoods, about their families. These are small businesses, and we have for too long dealt with study after study after study rather than looking at what the root causes are that is putting our lobster men out of business. The fact of the matter is, let's take a look at the data that we have. What the causes are listed there with what we know about pesticides and their effect on the on this issue. We are seeing record low levels of lobsters. The numbers are even worse than they were with the lobster die-off in 1999. We need to keep fighting, first and foremost, to protect the water quality in the Sound. But we need to not witness an industry going out of business in the state of Connecticut. That's where the danger lies. And that's why we want to move at the federal level as quickly as we can.
We have an industry that's composed of many small companies. Back in 1999, we had 360 active licenses in the state of Connecticut. We're down to about 15 fishermen left. We need you to stop trying to study this when you have all the information. I have here many studies. I have a lot of studies, a lot of tax dollars on the back of our Congress people and our legislature. It's time to act. And before it's too late, before there is no lobster resource and we're out of business. That a mere 33 parts per billion of methoprene killed off half the lobsters in a 20-gallon tank. And here we are deploying it into our catch basins in a slow-release tablet. We need to stop poisoning the Sound. We need to be more vigilant about what we're putting into the waters. And in so doing, you'll help the lobstermen. Yeah, the lobstermen are important, and hopefully we'll be here. The few that remain have been optimistic with the help of our congresspeople and our legislators here in Connecticut. But we're not going to give up. We're very vigilant, and we're going to intensify our vigilance about it.
So there are alternatives, and we don't have to use what we suspect is a very lethal component of this degradation of the Sound. But you know, our shoreline communities are defined by Long Island Sound. It's a recreational body, it's our shared resource with New York, it's an economic engine for Connecticut, it brings tourists, it's what we generate our lives around, and it's just not right to just not do everything humanly possible to turn this around.
As Nick has said, this is a matter of jobs, this is a matter of economy, this is a matter of an opportunity. We have had a tradition in Connecticut of great lobsters. And to think now that we're having to outsource our lobsters, going to Massachusetts and Maine, bring them back here to Connecticut.
We got a lot of things, a lot of bad stuff running into Long Island Sound. We just got a report a few weeks ago about how bad our beaches have been. It can't be all attributed to Irene. There are issues that are impacting the Sound, which essentially is not an open ocean, and when things enter it, they don't get washed away easily. I always think of the lobsters as being our sort of canary in the coal mine. You know, the lobsters are telling us there's a problem here, that the things that are going into the Sound are bad for lobsters, they're bad for beaches. We got pharmaceuticals that are bad for babies and bad for business.
So I think with our pledged continued vigilance and innovation, I think, to ensure the protection of this valuable resource, and additional actions to ensure the health of Long Island Sound, which is a treasure that we all enjoy and value very much.
Anyways, we have to do something to stop the methoclean. I mean, the studies are all done. All we have to do now is read the studies. It's time to act. Like Nick said, if we keep waiting, it's going to be too late. So I think we can bring this industry back. We have to stop the use of the pesticides, and we bring the lobsters back. We bring the industry back, and along with the industry, we bring the jobs back. And that's one of the most important things here. All right, and I'd like to thank everybody again. Thank you.
Citizens Campaign for the Environment is committed to preserving Long Island Sound's aquatic ecosystem and maritime culture, and will continue to advocate for the federal funding necessary to support Long Island Sound's lobster fishery and other natural resources.